and gentlemen, good afternoon. Thank you for standing by, and welcome to the Pension Fund conference call. At this time, all lines are in a listen-only mode. Later, there will be an opportunity for your questions. If you do wish to ask a question or need operator assistance today, please press star followed by the 0, and an AT&T operator will assist you. Once again, for questions and operator assistance, please press star followed by the 0. And as a reminder, today's conference is being recorded. I would now like to turn the conference over to our host, President of the Pension Fund, Mr. James Hamlet. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Tom. Hello, everyone. For the next hour, I will be your host for the question and answer session designed to keep you informed about the Pension Fund and to answer as best we can any question you may have of us. As is customary, several of my colleagues are sitting with me today, who I will call on in the event that they may best be prepared to answer your question. In particular, I would like to introduce Duncan Draper, our Vice President, Chief Financial Officer, and Treasurer, David Stone, Vice President and Chief Investment Officer, and Michael Porter, Director of Health Services, each of whom have expertise in areas in which you may have particular interest. The session, as we already know, is being recorded and will be posted on our website early next week. If we should run out of time before your question has been answered, you may want to email your question to pfcc1@pensionfund.org. We will open for questions in just a moment, but first I have a couple of comments to make. The vacuum of leadership in Washington continues to create uncertainty in our economy and the financial markets. That said, your pension fund has had a very good year in 2012, virtually completing the recovery from the 2008-2009 market crash. You may recall that at the end of 2007, the pension fund had $2.75 billion in assets under management. At the trough of the market, values had dropped to roughly $1.7 billion. At the end of last year, total asset value had increased to more than $2.67 billion, and January returns brought us again to $2.75 billion. Last year's increase was about a 9% increase, essentially completing the recovery, even after taking into account pension benefits of more than $100 million being paid out each year since 2007. Now, we know that markets go up and down, and we know that another market downturn is likely somewhere in just around the corner. Because our first task is to protect the ability of the pension fund to pay benefits when due, directors have established policy regarding the level of reserves that must be available before we consider granting a special apportionment or good experience credits. I am delighted that reserves were sufficient to enable the board to grant a special apportionment of 3.5%, which will be applied to pensions and pre-retirement accounts on July 1. Likewise, directors approved good experience credits of 3.4% for tax-deferred, annuity, and benefit accumulation accounts. These good experience credits will be based upon the average principal balance during 2012, will be added to the balance on March 31 of this year, and will be reflected in the quarterly statements that you will receive. As you would appreciate, each of the programs of the pension fund remains fully funded. Now, it's no secret that the current political and economic climates are very challenging. The looming sequestration process will have direct negative impact upon a fragile economic outlook. This could trigger a short-term market correction and slow the economy over the next few months, and that means continued uncertainty about jobs, health care, Medicare, and other social programs. But I am ever the optimist, and I trust Congress and the President will ultimately address the budget and so-called entitlements in ways that help us move forward toward a more vibrant economy. I believe that better days lie ahead. That said, greater market volatility, high unemployment, and low interest rates are likely to continue for some period of time, all of which continue to affect what we do. But even in this period of uncertainty, we continue to make progress toward the implementation of new programs and a new data system called the Believe It Project. But as so often occurs with software development, the task has become bigger than anticipated and delays have ensued. Yet we remain optimistic that the new system will be operational prior to the General Assembly, and when the project is completed, the pension fund will be in a position to serve more effectively and with a greater array of services. We also will have a better and wider array of tools with which to serve. Employers will have access to program information and enrollment online. Members will have access to their account information online, and we will have the capacity to offer new services, such as a traditional IRA. In short, we are bringing our service capability to a level of best practices. As part of this project, we have also sought to enhance, verify, and update information that we need from participants to accurately and efficiently serve. Now, I must admit that some of our communications in this regard have created confusion and that our responses, including confirmations, have too often exacerbated the problem. For that, I offer my apology and commitment to improve our communications as we move forward. I can assure you that when we move forward with the new data system, we will have accurate data and procedures that are consistently applied. Our goal is always to care for the resources entrusted to us in a prudent and thoughtful manner, taking care to address the unique requirements and risks associated with each program. And we take some measure of satisfaction that over the past 5 years of market collapse and recovery, no participant has lost a penny. I remain concerned about budget shortfalls within the life of the church that have caused some congregations and wider ministries to reduce or discontinue support for their pensions for their staff. We are concerned that the impact will have long-lasting implications on the financial well-being of clergy and lay employees of the church. So I encourage you to join us in advocating for long-term support for pastors and their families through continued pension plan participation. Know that all of us, staff and directors alike, will continue to focus on and offer all of our energy towards maintaining the pension fund's financial strength, even as we seek ways to serve more effectively and broadly within the life of the church. We thank you for the privilege of serving you, and we look forward to your questions. Operator, let's open the lines.
Thank you. As a reminder, for questions, please press *0. And if the operator's gathered your name, simply press *1, and that'll put you in queue. Our first question comes to the line of Dick Johnson. Please go ahead.
This is Dick Johnson. I wanted to first thank you for the tremendous job you've done managing our funds. We're probably, my family is probably a little better off retired than when we were working, thanks to you people. And I just want to say I've always sort of suspected that perhaps people would pay me more not to preach than to preach, but I didn't expect to be quite as well off. My question is, I was listening earlier. Someone asked a question about whether there was a chance that the exclusion from income tax of the housing allowance might end income tax, and you started to say yes, that you thought there was a real possibility, and then all of a sudden my phone went off, and I wonder what that answer was.
Okay. Well, what I said earlier at the earlier session was that there are two particular, what I would call a tax on the housing allowance issue. One is a constitutional question that's been posed by a lawsuit placed in Wisconsin, and they are challenging the constitutionality of parsonage allowance. The other is the risk that the federal government, in its review of the income tax code generally, in their review and changing of it, might choose to eliminate that as one of the so-called perks within the life of the tax code. With respect to the first one, my colleagues in other denominational pension boards and I are working through legal counsel to watch and then to respond as appropriate. And that would be true with respect to changes of law. We will have folks in Washington working with legislators to try to protect that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Our next question comes from Eldon Irving. Please go ahead.
Yes, I had a question about benefit accumulation. You told what would be going up in pension fund. Will there be any increase in the percentage for benefit accumulation, and how much is it now?
Currently, Eldon, the board approved a good experience credit for tax-deferred annuity and benefit accumulation accounts of 3.4%. So all of those, and I suspect, Eldon, in fact, it was good to see you in Fort Worth.
Thank you.
I suspect that will benefit you in all three ways.
Well, good. When you said tax deferred, I didn't know that also applied to benefit accumulation, but I'm glad to hear it did.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If there are any additional questions, please press star followed by the 0. And ladies and gentlemen, put yourself in queue. Please press star 0 at this time. We do have a few queued up. One moment, please. After the operator's gathered your name, please press star 1 to put yourself in queue. And we'll go to the line of Bill Thompson. Please go ahead.
This is Bill Thompson in Cherry Log, Georgia. Wondering about the number of actuarial funding at its low point and whether that would be similar in the tax-deferred accounts. And also the third question, what was the value of the pension fund before the recession? You mentioned the $2.75 billion currently. Thank you.
Okay. The answer to your last question was that we started in 2007 at $2.755 billion. So we're essentially back in that regard.
Okay.
As to the pension plan, I believe, if I'm recalling correctly, we got down to approximately 90% funding, actuarial funding. And when you say actuarial funding, what that means is you have based on the actuarial assumptions, 90% of the funds that would be necessary to pay all pensions
for the future.
And pension dues in the future. So
yes, I understand that.
And there is not a for-profit company in the world that wouldn't like to have at least 90% in their pension
absolutely.
plan. So it was still very well funded. I would guess that with respect to TDA and other funds, yes, we were negative, and I would guess it would be similar percentage, but for a very short period of time.
Well, I was really expecting there to be some sort of a downward pressure on the value and actually see some loss, but I was just astonished when everything was kept at par.
We stood behind it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Our next question comes from the line of Ina Woodworth, and if there are any additional questions, please press star 0.
This is Ina.
Hi, Ina.
I'm a widow, a minister's widow, and I was concerned about my money. I'm not like the gentleman. I don't have the tax ability to take housing or that stuff off.
Mm-hmm.
So finances are kind of tough.
I'm sorry.
What will they? I have my money in the account in the special. Not the tax-free, but the other one.
Okay.
And I have been having to take my interest out in order to make ends meet.
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to increase the monthly for that too? All my bills are going up, but nothing else is. If you understand what I mean.
You're asking, is the base interest rate going to go up?
Yes.
That's set each quarter, and at this point we've not set it for the next quarter.
Okay.
But I would not expect there to be a lot of change. Duncan, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, this is Duncan Draper. Last year we consistently allocated 1.7% for the BA account for the interest.
Right.
In the first quarter, we did raise that to 2%.
Right.
So it has gone up 30 basis points.
Right. But I've been having to take 3% out because financially I haven't been able to make ends meet. And I don't live high on the hog, as you realize. Most ministers' wives do not live high on the log. But I was kind of curious. The 3.4% will help. But as I say, I've been having to take out my principal.
Okay, I understand.
So that's what I was wondering about.
Right.
Are you going to be, and we are going to be able to raise our income come June?
Your pension, your pension will go up 3.5% July 1.
Well, that will help.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
All right.
When you're trying to make ends meet, it's kind of difficult.
I understand.
Thank you.
Thank you for your call.
If there are any additional questions, please press star followed by the 0. We have a follow-up from Mr. Thompson. Please go ahead.
Yeah, just a shout-out to the Pension Fund Board with our member of our church, Deborah Lewis, one of your new board members, and we're proud of her and glad to have her on the board.
Thank you. She's a great asset.
Indeed.
For any additional comments, please press star followed by the 0. And we will go to Nancy Saunders. Please go ahead. Ms. Saunders, please press star 1. And we have a follow-up from Eldon Irving. Please go ahead.
Hi, Jim. This is Eldon again. I just wanted to come back to say thank you very much for what you're doing, and I appreciate it. It's doing a good job. And I appreciate especially working to try to keep the housing allowance available. Thank you again.
Thank you for your call.
And we have a question from line of John Bloss. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Since the IRS has changed the forms for reporting income, I'm still confused about the way this is reported. The gross distribution, does that include the health insurance premium?
Yes, it would.
It does include the issue. Okay.
Yes.
And on the housing allowance, is that gross distribution figure the figure that the housing allowance is calculated from?
The gross distribution includes your housing allowance, yes. And as from the board's perspective, we take an action every November to allocate 60% of that as parsonage allowance.
Yes.
The law requires that you use the lower of one of three figures. What we allocate, what you spend, or what the fair rental value plus utilities and upkeep may be.
Yes.
In terms of fair rental value.
The lower of the three calculations.
Right.
Okay. Now my problem is that in 2010, when they changed all this regulations for you, then it got different, and our accountant calculated it at that time, and we paid a penalty because of the allowance. Now, you said in November that pension fund allowed 60%?
Right. In November of each year, we allocate 60% for the following year. That's the action.
Yes, okay. I have a letter that says that allowance is 42%. And I don't recall having requested that and how that was calculated. But
can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Because we're getting into some of your particular personal situation.
Yes.
May we call you back tomorrow and we'll talk it through in detail?
Well, let me ask a question. May avoid that.
Okay.
I think, if I recall correctly, our appointment with the accountant is the 18th of March at 1 o'clock or something like that. Can he call the pension fund for any guidance that he may need to do those calculations? Because
he may call, but we need your authority for him to talk about your account.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So we'll need for you to send us a note to give us that authority.
You have to have that in writing?
Yes.
Okay. Last year, I think I called him on my phone and gave it to John, the accountant, and he talked. But they asked me for my permission for him to do it. But anyway, okay. Let's see now. One other thing. Will you please thank your investment committee for making it possible to give us a 3.5% raise come July?
I will be more than happy to do that.
Yeah, we certainly appreciate all that the pension fund does for us, and we have some things I need to talk to Michael Porter about, but that's not for this particular kind of conversation.
Okay.
Thank you.
John, good to talk with you.
You're Mr. Thompson?
No, I'm Mr. Hamlet.
Oh, you're Jim. Okay.
Right.
Okay. I have some correspondence from you and several other people there, and I appreciate the response you gave me, internet and otherwise.
Thank you.
And he cleared the thing up.
Good.
It cleared some of the fog.
Good.
Pass on that word for me. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Bye.
We will go to the line of Nancy Saunders. Please go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to add my thanks to the good job you're doing, too. And as I think of all this, I want to know how I can give back, especially in the form of something to the Minister Relief Fund. And I'm wondering how I can give something from my 403B to this Minister Relief Fund that would be to my tax advantage.
Mm-hmm. Let me do this, Nancy. Can I have Ruth Wallace give you a call tomorrow?
Okay.
And she will call, and the two of you can kind of talk it through.
All right.
Okay? Mm-hmm. Thank you so much.
Bye.
And we'll go to the line of Donald D. Bay. Please go ahead.
Hi, Donald D. Bates from Apple Valley, California. I have the benefit of being in the pension fund of Christian churches through my work with Chapman University in Orange, California.
Fabulous.
And I would like to say that I'm very pleased every year with the results that the pension fund gives. So all I can say is well done 12 times. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have a follow-up from the line of Ina Wadworth. Please go ahead.
Woodworth, yes. I have a question. I was written when my husband first passed away. Anyway, a question if I needed help with the 13th check, and I refused it at that time. Is it possible if I have to have it to request it again?
I will do this. I think we'll probably have to take a look at your particular situation.
Okay.
There are some limits in terms of restrictions on who may and who may not receive, so we have to make sure that you would qualify.
Okay.
But may I have Sandra Michael Bowers give you a call,
sure.
and we can start that process.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I don't mean to be piggish.
Well, that's okay. Not a problem. We want to serve those who are in need.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll go to the line of Bill Thompson. Please go ahead.
Some other comments triggered a question in terms of, I think you mentioned something about, if I heard it right, the progress towards having online access of our accounts to check our accounts and see where we are, and also along with that maybe to request the possibility of having some archival copies of annual reports on the website.
Certainly the former. We haven't really even thought about archival annual reports as a resource to have available, but we'll take that under advisement.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
And gentlemen, there are no other questions at this time.
Let's wait a minute or two to see if any surface.
Okay. As a reminder, *0 for questions. Nobody is queuing up.
Well, let's wait just one more minute, and if no one has a question, then we will close.
Person is with an operator. One moment. Alan, go ahead and hit *1 to put yourself in queue. And we'll go to line of Thad Allen. Please go ahead.
Hi, guys. Thad Allen, Regional Minister in West Virginia.
Hi, Thad.
And I just want to say thank you on behalf of our congregations, and also lift up a word of thanks for the disability part of our pension plan. It's really helpful as we work with congregations and search and call. The protection that is afforded to our ministers and congregations is a help. So, a word of thanks from regional ministers.
Thanks so much.
You have a follow-up from Mr. Allen? Please go ahead.
Nope, I was just trying to get back on the call. My apologies.
Okay. And we'll go to line of Ina Woodworth. Please go ahead.
I just wanted to say that when my husband passed away, I had a daughter in college, and I really appreciated the help that the pension fund gave us for her to continue on with her education. She did finish college. She did finish and got her bachelor's degree.
Oh, thank you. That's great news.
Yeah, I couldn't have done it without the help of the pension fund.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
And we'll go to Val Sandlin's line. Please go ahead.
Okay. I'm wondering if you are going to make a distribution of good experience this year.
Yes, ma'am.
What percent?
At 3.4% for TDRA, annuities, and benefit accumulation accounts.
Great. And will there be anything on savings?
That's 3.4.
3.4 on all of it?
All of it.
Straight across the board?
Except pensions are 3.5.
Oh, which was 3.5?
Pension. So if you have a pension or pension credits, it would be 3.5.
Okay, very good. Well, that answers my question. I'm going to hang up now. Appreciate it very much.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks. I didn't say.
Gentlemen, should we give another minute?
Yes, please.
Okay. He has queued up. Ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to take this final opportunity to ask a question, please press *0. No further questions.
Okay, Tom, then let me use closing remarks. So I want to thank all of you again for participating in this question and answer forum provided by your pension fund. We will schedule another forum when we believe we have important information to share. Until then, please call or email us with any further questions you may have. It is our great honor to serve you. We ask God to continue to bless you and keep you. Good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude our conference for today. Thank you for your participation and using the AT&T Executive Teleconference Service. You may now disconnect.